Saudi Arabia has long been considered one of the most powerful and strategically important nations in the world. Located in the heart of the Middle East, the country holds vast oil reserves, controls critical religious sites for Muslims, and plays a major role in global energy markets and regional politics. For decades, Saudi Arabia has maintained internal stability through a combination of economic power, strong leadership, security forces, and strategic alliances with global powers. Today we will talk about what happens if Saudi Arabia loses control. So, before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. What happens if Saudi Arabia loses control? The importance of Saudi Arabia in global energy markets. One of the most immediate consequences of instability in Saudi Arabia would be a massive disruption to global energy markets. Saudi Arabia is one of the largest oil producers in the world and a leading member of the Global Oil Alliance, known as OPEC. The country produces millions of barrels of oil every day, supplying energy to economies across Asia, Europe, and North America. If Saudi Arabia were to lose control due to political chaos or internal conflict, oil production could slow dramatically or even stop in some regions. Global oil prices would likely skyrocket almost instantly. Energy-dependent industries such as transportation, manufacturing, shipping, and aviation would face enormous cost increases. This would likely trigger inflation across many countries. History shows how sensitive the world is to oil disruptions. Even small changes in production can affect global markets. If Saudi Arabia's massive output were interrupted, the shock could cause one of the largest energy crises in modern history. Economic shockwaves across the global economy. The global economy is deeply connected to Saudi Arabia's energy resources and financial systems. The country has invested hundreds of billions of dollars around the world through sovereign wealth funds, infrastructure projects, and international partnerships. If Saudi Arabia were to lose political control or experience a collapse in governance, international markets would react immediately. Investors would pull money out of regional markets, stock markets could drop sharply, and economic uncertainty would spread worldwide. Many countries depend heavily on oil imports from the Middle East. Sudden instability could create supply shortages and force nations to search for alternative energy sources. Governments might release emergency oil reserves or attempt to negotiate new supply agreements, but such measures would only provide temporary relief. The result could be a global economic slowdown or even a recession, depending on how long the instability lasts. Religious and cultural implications. Saudi Arabia holds enormous significance in the Muslim world because it is home to the two holiest cities in Islam, Mecca and Medina. Every year, millions of Muslims travel to Saudi Arabia to perform the Hajj pilgrimage, one of the central pillars of Islamic faith. If Saudi Arabia were to lose internal control, the safety and management of these religious sites could become uncertain. The international Muslim community would be deeply concerned about who would oversee pilgrimage activities and protect these sacred places. In such a situation, international Islamic organizations and major Muslim countries might push for a global framework to manage the holy sites. This could lead to major religious and diplomatic debates within the Muslim world about governance and responsibility. Regional power struggles in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia is one of the most influential political powers in the Middle East. It plays a central role in regional alliances and diplomatic efforts. If the Saudi government were to lose control, it could create a massive power vacuum in the region. Other regional powers might attempt to increase their influence or fill the leadership gap. Rivalries that are currently contained through diplomacy could intensify. Neighboring countries might become involved in efforts to stabilize or influence developments inside Saudi Arabia. Regional conflicts could expand as various groups seek to gain control over territory, resources, or political power. The Middle East has experienced similar power vacuums in the past, and the results have often led to prolonged instability, security risks, and global military concerns. Saudi Arabia maintains one of the most well-equipped militaries in the Middle East and hosts strategic partnerships with several international allies. If political control weakened, security risks could rise dramatically. Military bases, weapons systems, and defense infrastructure would need to remain secure. Any breakdown in centralized control could create fears about who controls these strategic assets. Such developments would place enormous pressure on global diplomatic systems. Impact on global oil transportation routes. Another major concern would involve the safety of critical shipping routes. Saudi Arabia is located near key maritime pathways used for transporting oil and goods. The Persian Gulf region is one of the most important energy transportation hubs in the world. Internal social and political consequences. Within Saudi Arabia itself, the loss of central control could lead to significant social and political challenges. Saudi Arabia is a large country with diverse regional communities, economic sectors, and tribal networks. If national leadership weakened, local power structures might attempt to assert authority. This could lead to competition between various political, tribal, or regional groups. Maintaining order across such a vast territory would become extremely difficult without strong central governance. Economic services, public infrastructure, and social programs might also suffer during periods of instability. This could create humanitarian challenges that would require international assistance. Global diplomatic reactions. If Saudi Arabia were to lose control, the global diplomatic response would likely be immediate and intense. International organizations, major powers, and regional governments would begin urgent discussions on how to stabilize the situation. Emergency summits might be organized to coordinate responses. Diplomatic efforts would focus on protecting energy markets, maintaining religious access to holy sites, and preventing wider regional conflict. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up, leave a comment, and click the button to subscribe.